Back in June of 2020, I wrote a blog shop talk post for you about search engine optimization, or SEO. In this post, I made the point that there really is only one secret to SEO, and that is you write for your readers. Anything else, trying to use a gimmick, trying to trick people into getting to your site just for clicks, is not going to work. Your goal is to write things in your authentic voice and then present it to your readers. The question, though, is, okay, let's say I have written a post I think is perfect for my readers. How do I help them find it? And that's where you have tools like Yoast come into play. Yoast is a tool that helps you tweak your post for search engine optimization. I've been going back through some of my older posts, and my goal is touch the text as little as possible because we don't want to write for SEO. We want to write for our readers. But then we package it. We do things like put headers in certain ways to help Google connect your readers to your post. I'm going to walk through how you use Yoast to do that, and I'm going to use some of my old Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga reviews because they're a really good example that I can quantify and give you specifics on how readers can find these posts. So before I started, I'm going to eventually Yoastify or use Yoast to spruce up the SEO for all 12 of these reviews. But before I started, I wanted to quantify and ask myself, okay, how well were they performing before I did Yoast? Well, it turns out in every case, 12 episodes, not a single one was in Google's first 13 pages of results. That's about as big a failure as you can get and still be on the internet. That means readers who wanted, for example, to find out what bloggers thought about the Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga episode 7, for example, they would never find my posts. So I had to ask myself, why? What did I do so wrong? Because my newer posts have been doing pretty well. That's the purpose of Yoast, to help you answer those questions and to help you format your posts so that your readers can find them. Now let me walk through a little bit about what Yoast looks like and some of its key features. I'm going to focus primarily on 4 of them. The first thing you want to do is set a focus key phrase. In my case, it's Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga episode 7. That's what this post is about. I debated, should I use the Japanese title? Should I use the English title? My readership is a mix of very experienced anime viewers and very inexperienced anime viewers. So I figure the experienced viewers will find it either way, but the inexperienced viewers will never find the Japanese title. So I'm using the English title. So next thing, I'll walk you through these in an example of episode 8. But there are things that Yoast looks for and will tell you how to fix. There's a readability analysis and there's an SEO analysis. Some of these things I chose not to fix, and I'll talk a little bit about why. But let's go into my review of episode 8. Now, to do the search quantification, I searched on a consistent phrase. For this one, I searched actually for Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga episode 7. Right away, and this I only know this in hindsight, right away I see this doesn't say anything about what episode number it is. It doesn't even say Kyoto Saga. Is this the original Blue Exorcist? Is this the new version? Is this the Kyoto Saga? You want to be as specific as possible and as clear as possible. Now, as a creative writer, as somebody who wants to write fiction, I thought, I'm going to have really cool titles, right? And that's all very dramatic and makes me feel very creative. But there's not a single soul on the face of this earth, not a single reader who's not already inside my head, which is to say, not me, that's going to know the power of lies refers to this episode. What I'm saying here is this title is a complete fail. So what I'm going to do, since I hate typing, is I am going to change the title to something that a reader might actually search on. And in this case, it's Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga episode 8 review. I'm going to do the same thing here for the focus key phrase. I'm going to give it a key phrase that will help me focus. And what Yoast does with this is, as I make my changes, it will look for that key phrase or variations of it and tell me, am I using it enough for it to dawn on Google that, oh, this is about episode 8. A few minor things I'll change here because this is a standard format for me in my later posts. Google uses headings as clues to content. So my quick summary is going to become quick summary of this series in this episode. What's in this post? That's I'm going to leave that be. What happened in this series, this episode. What I liked about this series, this episode. What I liked less about, and I will say, Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga, I really liked it. There was not a lot I did not like about it. And same thing with my thoughts section. Now, these headings will help Google understand and then help Google connect my readers to this post, but we're not done. So let's now start using the readability analysis. Here it tells me I have 2 instances where 3 or more consecutive sentences start with the same word. Google won't always give you an inferior search results position because of grammar, but there's no point in leaving those in if you can avoid it. Here, Yoast is not smart enough to know that these are headings, right? So I'm just going to leave those be. I'm going to go through here, and Yoast will highlight in purple, at least on this screen, where I need to make changes. And it turns out these are lists of other reviews. There are 2 instances. Those 2 I'm not going to do anything about. Subheading distribution. Now this is important, and I have found this will very much help your position in the search results if you pay attention to this. I have 3 sections of my text that are longer than 300 words each. So what I'm going to do is put new headings in. Now, notice here, this is heading 2. So any other headings subordinate to heading 2 will be heading 3, unless I want to break it up further. So I'm going to start here, and what you want to do is pull out either key concepts, character names, place names, something that would help Google understand what that's about. So if a reader were to search for example, Blue Exorcist, Kyoto Saga, Ruji. Well, maybe I want to have Ruji's name in one of the headings. Even though he's still in the text, Google will see him there. The headings give it a clue that, oh, he's more than just a passing reference, and maybe he's the topic, he's the subject. So I go through here and I'll pull out what I think is most interesting. And I'm not going to say it doesn't. It does matter. You want to make sure that you pull out the concept that is most important, or at least one that is demonstrative. Because remember, if you just keyword pack or you put a topic here that is not important, maybe somebody is really, really interested in Ruji and he's only mentioned once. Well, then they're going to be disappointed and they may not come back to my site. So I'm going to try to find just the concepts here that are important within 300, and you want it to be no longer than 300 words. Here a key concept dramatically is that Ren still can't draw the sword. And this is either the first of the next section or the very last of the previous. These are kind of big paragraphs, and it may have me break up some paragraphs. We'll see in a minute here. This could be interesting. Another interesting dramatic development is that Yukio, see why I don't like to type, sees a light in the forest. And then there he is. And then I have what I liked. Same type of thing here. I want to break it up, pull out key concepts with an emphasis on character names, place names, things that make this, what I'm talking about, unique. So here, it is very important Ren can't draw his sword. Remember, 300 words or so. Here there's a key concept that's ongoing that The X-Wires really don't know if Ren can control his flames. See why I don't like to type? It's actually it's hard to type while you're being self-conscious and dictating. Okay, so thoughts. How big is this section? Pretty big. So it's literally longer than 300. This is about Yukio and Rin. So I'm going to have, and it's a flashback. See a couple sentences or a couple paragraphs there. Not a whole lot distinct here. And then we come down here, and with the end. At this point, I think I've divvied it up. In other words, I think that I've broken up the sections into less than 300. Let's see if Yoast agrees. Oh, I still have one somewhere. Yoast will also count captions. So it could be that the captions pushed me over. Maybe I miscalculated one. A lot of times what I'll end up, well, that did look pretty long there, didn't it? What I'll end up doing is starting a program like Word or something and using it to, I'll paste in the sections and see how long they are. If you know of a better way, I keep checking these menu options here. Like it's there, it says number of words, but I don't think it does for the what you have selected. See, the word count didn't change, so that's kind of disappointing. You think something that claims to be an editor would have things like, word count and let you determine how big your sections are, but it doesn't. Also, a little disappointing that Yoast doesn't highlight it, because for most part, it does a great job with highlighting. But I'll go find that later. What's important, another thing I want to show you here is, you notice it says there's one paragraph that's too long. It should be no longer than 150 words. These are not set in stone, they're guidelines, but I have found that 9 times out of 10, it does improve readability. So, there I found it, just accidentally I found it, but you see, it only will highlight just the paragraph that's the one that's offending. So I'll look at this and try to figure out where is a good break point. Right there. And now you see that went away. And now I still have, I will go back and fix this. I'm not going to make you sit and listen to me do it. And then I've already accepted that. So let's move on. Before I do SEO analysis, there's another feature here that we'll want to take advantage of, and it will let you preview what your search results will look like. But to do that, you have to give it the meta information. A lot of this is configurable, but you can configure, for example, this the character here that separates the title from your website. And you want your website title in the search results, so that as people start they search for certain anime series, they search for certain characters, they may begin to associate your site with those topics. And when they see your site name in future results, they'll be more likely to come visit, especially if you've given them a reading experience that matches their expectations. So here, I like to start out with a keyword phrase, and then do a very brief description of the episode. In this case, let me see if there's any names I need to be able to spell. Let me just pull this out here. But I don't want to do an exact copy, but just give me something to start with. And remembering that Rin's having trouble with his sword. Struggles to hold the sword. So, there. You're going to want to be more creative, but that's just something, right? So, you look up here, this is what the results will look like to a mobile user. It also will give you the desktop results. And now we want to take a look at the SEO analysis. It's turned green, but there may be other things we may be able to improve it. The key phrase is not in my introduction, and by golly, it's not. So what I've done here is I have included, before I went back, I think I'm using Analyst for this. I sometimes use my anime list. I sometimes use Anime Planet. And what I'll do is I want to have a consistent way to start these, but a way that identifies, again, the title of the series and the episode number. And I have since decided to standardize on having double quotes around the title. And now that problem went away. The slug is something that's established when you first publish it. I'm not going to change the slug since I first published this back in, I think, 2017. And I haven't thoroughly researched what that does to my site navigation or any other links I might have. So I'm just going to accept that as a problem. Image alt attributes. What I tend to do is just copy the focus key phrase and then go back through and add the alt text. Google's smart enough to pull out character names, other nouns, other search terms from alt text. So you want to make sure you take advantage of that. And here I have, sometimes I'll just copy the whole thing, sometimes I won't, because this is alt text and it should be as short as is feasible. Actually, that's good enough right there. Whoops. But I want to preface it with the key phrase. You do that for all the photos, including the featured image. In this case, I'm actually going to replace it. I took another shot earlier. I don't like to have the same shot within the text and as the featured image, because I feel like I'm cheating my readers if I do that. And I only came to that conclusion after, for a while, I kind of did exactly that. So I didn't like it, so I've changed it since. And now when I redo some of these posts, I take the opportunity. There we go. And then I want to select it again because it's at this screen. I can add this text. Otherwise, if I don't capitalize Toto, it becomes to do, and that's very confusing. So let's see what Yoast thinks about this now. And now it's like, oh, you've done too many. Man, that's a bit much. In this case, I may take it off the featured image. And a lot of this is trial and error. Yoast, by and large, knows what it's doing. So I've come to trust it, especially since the results speak for themselves. And speaking of which, you remember I mentioned that none of the Blue Exorcist Kyoto Saga reviews showed up in the first 13 pages of Google's results. After I Yoastified the first 5 or 6 episodes, I gave it a week because most of the stuff I'm reading says Google will reindex it, after a few days, but certainly within a week. I went back and I measured. My first episode used to not even show up in the first 13 pages. Now it's showing up in the first 2. The next episode, first page, maybe of results, maybe the second page of results. So the results were clear and quantifiable. You notice I didn't change much of the text, and that was one of the goals, right? Because I don't want to write for SEO. I want to write for my readers. I want to add only the components of SEO I need for Google to understand how to connect my readers with my posts. And that's why I really, really like Yoast. It just breaks it down. It doesn't force you to do a lot of rewriting, and it focuses you on the things that are important. So I've also noticed, as I'm going back through some of my old series, I will notice them popping up into my top 10 for my Jetpack results. I wasn't seeing that before. I would consistently see the asterisk war. For some reason, readers like to come back and read my review of episode 21. I don't know why, but I'm deeply grateful. But now I'm seeing other episodes and other series. People are finding posts that I've added these extra Yoast recommended changes to. So I can see it working. I can actually see my volume generally increasing over time. It's hard to say because I don't have a control set, another universe where I didn't do Yoast, but did everything else the same. But everything I can tell is suggesting that Yoast is helping readers find my posts. And it's helping them do that without me doing much extra other than the headings, some alt tags, and some minor formatting tweaks that I really should do anyway. I mean, who wants to read a 400-word paragraph? I mean, I don't. I didn't like to write it, to tell you the truth. It's making common sense suggestions. It's not a gimmick. It's very much in the philosophy I presented earlier, which is write for your readers. This is helping you get your writing to your readers through Google. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you've used Yoast, I'd love to hear your experience with it. Let me know in the comments. If you haven't used Yoast, can you tell me if this video helped you maybe consider it? Thanks for hanging around to the end of the video, and we'll see you back on the site.